Welcome to the Wealth Rebels show. I am here today with the very amazing Celia Pronto. Now, Celia and I met. I'm just going to recap for the listeners that didn't see the original conversation we had back at last Christmas, actually. We met when we were invited by Gather, an investment app that I would say are trying to inspire the next generation to get started investing, which is amazing. And we went to this like really cool co-working space in the same building as the BBC studios. I felt super cool in the heart of London to take part in an investment panel for the event. And on the panel was you and I. There was another lady, and hosting it was a friend of mine, an influencer, Laura Ann Moore. And then there was the female founder in the audience of The Curve. So it was a super cool, what I would call cool event. And you and I clicked. We connected on the topic of money, which a lot of people do. We were on the investment panel, but that was the initial activator. That connection, I feel, has really deepened with our connection to energy work and spirituality and healing, energy healing as well. So, firstly, welcome back to the Wealth Rebels show, Celia. It's lovely to have you back.
Well, thank you so much for having me back, Emma. It is such a thrill to be back and chatting with you. I feel like we could be here for a while.
Oh, I know. Well, and that's the thing. Time is an illusion. This is what I'm learning. But I do find that when I do the show with really connected people like yourself, time slows down and the right things that need to be heard in this moment always come out. I was just saying before we come on air that I haven't prepared huge amount of questions, just how I really wanted to introduce today's topic for you. So the reason that I wanted to get you back and invite you back onto the Wealth Rebel show is really multifaceted. Obviously, you captured my heart due to the work that you were doing with angel investors. At the time, you were the founder of Impact Ventures, and here you helped female founders or female-led ventures to get funding that they desperately needed to move their impact forwards. And you told me about some of the companies that you have worked with, which are serious companies, names that we would recognize that I have now in my drawers. The people, some of the things that they create, I have gone on to support and use, and this is what I feel is one of the like added benefits of the show and of working with people like you. I like or meeting people like you. But I find out about things that I didn't know about. Alignment with the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, so that we can really help to move these kind of businesses and impacts forwards. But you do this, and one of the things that also captured my heart is that you do this around being a non-executive director, so you are very much led by your heart and soul because you connect with companies whether you're working with them as a non-exec director or whether you've been working with them through your work as, when you founded Impact Ventures. But since you met, you pivoted again, which is this is how we expand into the universe. I believe you pivoted your energy into your latest, what I would call ikigai venture, into She Capital, which I can't wait. I'd love for you to share more about this again today. But when I asked you to come on the show, it's because I wanted you to come back because you really are a true angel. You're helping women to thrive, and therefore, if I could do anything for anyone, I want to shine that light on you. I was just saying off air that, when I'm down at Run Club talking about you, I really love to go, okay, I've got an episode you have to go and listen to. And I know there will be magic again to share with all of my friends in my business community. And, when I asked you, it was literally an instant yes. And you were super excited because you've just returned from a trip where you spent some time doing intensive learning to become a certified life activation practitioner and aura healer. And I want to know what that is. I want to know that is. I mean, wow, I love this. I simply can't wait to dive into this because I believe that this is the gateway to anyone leading a wealthy life, really taking those steps to transform themselves at a deep cellular level. Now, I want to share a story with you, and this was really interesting. Actually, I was told yesterday, because of the work that I do with energy and how I've shifted and how I talk about energy and things differently, especially on LinkedIn, because I'm not afraid to talk about this stuff on any platform, was that I was a hippie. I'm a hippie. And I sat with this because I think it's quite hilarious. You're probably thinking, Em, you're going on off a total tangent here. When are we going to dive into what's important? But I, I'm probably the least hippiest person, because for me, a hippie is someone that's sat on a beach drinking, maybe, I don't know, or just chilling out being a hippie. I'm probably the most hardworking, one of the most hardworking people that I know. Like, I don't stop working. I love what I do. Everything blends. I'm more ambitious than ever because my energy is in the right place. And I do more with my time than ever because I work with energy and I'm healing myself. And that to me isn't what being a hippie is. So I just wanted to put that out there for the person that called me a hippie. It's hilarious. It's funny. It makes me laugh because I feel the least hippiest that I can. But I think that we need to peel back this perception of what energy, healing, what auras, all of these things are, and say, actually, we're bringing this into what it takes to be truly transformational in the world of business.
Yeah, and I think you make a really interesting point, because I think sometimes when we don't understand something, we think it must immediately be alternative. And we think therefore that it must be hippie, to coin that phrase. And
Yeah.
the reality is we are multidimensional beings, all of us. We've just been taught for too long that actually we are led by the mind, and that's where all our decisions need to come from, and that's where truth comes from. But the reality is that's not where it comes from. That's simply one tiny, tiny aspect of how we operate. We are multidimensional beings. We are quantum, we are metaphysical.
100%. And the science is showing this, right? The science,
Absolutely.
the physics, the science is showing that everything in existence is all due to energy and particles and quantum entanglement. And, to think that even the science research that has been done on how the body functions, doctors are looking at how they can create a pill to make us live forever. Well, by the way, we already live forever, just not in this physical body.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love the fact that we are multidimensional. And for me, this is not limit. This being a hippie is so interesting. That was just one comment yesterday, which obviously just made me chuckle to my core. Not because I don't want to be a hippie. I'd love to be a hippie and get stoned. It just reminds me of that song. I want to be a hippie and I want to get stoned. It's just the complete misconception of what we're talking about when it comes to understanding energy. So let's dive into you. Let's dive into this beautiful topic of quantum, multidimensional, amazing energy work that you do. What's changed since you were last here in December? I mean,
Yeah.
it's been almost a year. What's changed for you, my love?
So much has changed, which is why I'm so thrilled to be back and talking a little bit about it. So as you said, when we first met, I was very much focused on running an angel investing syndicate, and our real purpose was how could we get more female founders invested? Because the reality is only 3% of women founders are able to raise capital. And that figure has been sitting at that level for a stubbornly long time. And so we were looking to really make a difference in that area. Now, the reality is that earlier this year, the government, with no consultation, decided to raise the thresholds of who could be and who could qualify as an angel investor. And that put us in a very precarious position as a syndicate. And although that decision was subsequently reversed, the damage had been done. And so we made the very difficult decision to actually close down Impact Ventures Group.
Yeah.
Interestingly, both myself and my co-founder, we continue to invest as angel investors. So the commitment to females and to women founders continues, albeit in a different guise. But what that gave me the opportunity, and I think this is an important point because there's always a gift in everything, and I genuinely believe that. I went away to a retreat earlier in the year. And it's really funny because the retreat I went to, of course, we were doing a lot of deep work, but there was a lot of free time. And I'm one of those people who likes to keep busy. And I can remember at the time thinking, my goodness me, there's a lot of free time here. What am I going to do with all this free time? Well, the reality is that that was actually what I needed. Because during those few days away, what really came to me is firstly, it revalidated my commitment to women, but it shifted it slightly. So for years and years and years, even when I was still in my executive career, I've coached and mentored women in their corporate careers. So women who are ambitious, typically mid-career and upwards. And of course, you use the traditional modalities that people will come across, your strengths, your NLP, your CBT. But increasingly, through all of the deep work that I've done myself, I recognized that actually what was missing was bringing the spirituality into those conversations with women. And so She Capital does exactly that. So it's holistic coaching, it's holistic mentoring. And what I aim to do is to really help women come into alignment. So alignment between head and heart, really understanding their true selves, coming into their divine feminine energy and being able to bring that to the workplace. And the reason I do this is because I genuinely believe the solutions we are looking for in society today will come from women, and it will come from that divine feminine energy. And so the more I can help women to recognize that power and step into that, the better society will be. And I genuinely believe that.
Oh my goodness. You're speaking my language. And I do believe that when you're activated onto a spiritual awakening, because I believe you awaken when your soul is ready to wake you up, it wakes up. And it's like, I believe you and I, when we met, we were asleep. I believe spiritually, well, I was anyway, asleep. I was awake in a way, like I was always, I think you always follow your intuition. You've always got that energy, but my soul, my awareness of the bigger picture was not there. I was doing things, but I was unconsciously doing things. And when you awake, you start to consciously see why you're doing it or what you're doing, or maybe not questioning why and just trusting the universe. And one of the things that's come up for me as you've said this is that obviously you are an angel, okay? You are here to support females in business. And so you were doing that. And then you started to you created Impact Ventures, right? And that was your way of helping female founders. But the universe clearly said, no, we're going to make the government make a stupid choice. So you can't carry on in this way. You will carry on in this way, doing that as an angel investor. But we're going to give you space and freedom to go and be uncomfortable in your own
Yeah.
free time, to go and check in with yourself to see how you are really meant to help the feminine in this world. Because you're already doing your ventures. You didn't need the syndicate. You had something else to do. So what it does is, and I've really seen this with the universe, because this happens a lot. You look back and you go, the mud or the things or that happened for a reason. Nothing in this life happens by chance.
Absolutely. And this is what I mean by the gifts. In anything, in any situation, in anything that happens to you, even when it's the darkest things. And, I've had a lot of trauma, I've had a lot of things in my past. And of course, in the moment, I couldn't see the gifts. Of course not. But there's always a gift, and you will find the gift, whether it's in the moment or after the event. There is always a gift to be found, and there's always a lesson there for you that was meant for you.
Oh, 100%. One of the things that the more that I do this work, because I do it on myself first, because I think you have to really embody when you wake up, you go through through a life and you look back at the trauma and you have to heal the trauma, really. But I really believe that empaths, people that are empathic, that are here to create the shift. I believe that not every soul comes to have a soul experience to be a game changer or to create the shift. Because I think we all have different roles when we come to this world and we incarnate. But that's just my opinion. This is the things that are coming to me. So I will always share that what I feel is the truth. But we have traumas to teach us how to get through and how to build resilience and to learn these really, really hard lessons. And then other things happen, like, things that happened this year with the government making poor choices or what seemed to be poor choices about angel investing. Those things happen to make it hard for you to do things and make things uncomfortable, so that when you then get into your lane, you are ready because you've had the trauma, you are healing it. You then become the what I like a lot of people talk about being the way shower, that person that's leading that next generation. And I was driving my car this morning as I was driving back from dropping Rose at preschool. And one of the things that was coming into me as I was driving was exactly what you've just said today, which is really, really weird. And but nothing is weird. It was coming into me about I was thinking about the divine feminine and divine masculine energies. And I really believe that when a soul incarnates, it forms divine feminine or divine masculine energy. And so I believe that we walk around and we could be a man or a woman with divine feminine or divine masculine energy. And I'm trying to explain this as this is a brand new thing that only come into me in the car this morning. So please forgive me if I sound a bit strange. But I believe that the problem that we have in this world is that we are being led by toxic masculine energy, and we absolutely need to empower the divine feminine of this world, because divine feminines lead from the heart upwards. I believe we operate in heart,
We do.
chakra, throat, and then crown, and we are really connected to the possibility of the higher purpose. Whereas divine masculine, which is beautiful, I believe is connected into the roots, into matrix, and they're connected the other way. And we connect at the heart, and we're missing that connection. And I really agree that divine feminine leads because that is where the source of all creation comes from.
Well, so we all have masculine and feminine. So if you are a female, you have to be in balance. You should have
We all
70,
have the,
you
yeah.
should have 70% feminine energy and 30% masculine energy. And if you're a man, it should be the other way around. So we all have masculine and feminine energy. The challenge where you start to feel as though you're misaligned is really when that balance of masculine and feminine are out of whack. And that's where you start to feel, I'm making decisions that I'm not sure are right. They don't sit right with me. I don't feel that they're quite aligned with who I am. Um, that's when you're misaligned. There's also, by the way, a reason that it's called Mother Nature and Mother Earth, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, 100%. Mother Earth, Gaia, a lot of spiritual people will call her Gaia, Mother Earth. It's where all creation happens,
Yeah.
and it's in the darkness. And we fear the dark. When I've listened to some of the people out there that inspire me, like Dr. Zach Bush, we look at black holes in the universe, the darkness that sucks in the light. The light is often the masculine, the light is the power. And then the darkness is where the creation happens. And it starts with going into the darkness, into the soil, into Mother Earth. And, it's just so important that we see and that we do not fear the feminine energy even within us. And I so agree that we as individuals we have to balance our inner masculine and feminine energy, the Shiva and the Shakti, so that it can flow and we can be in flow and we can be in our own creativity. And what I was referring to was then outwardly as we connect with a feminine or a masculine connects, we individually then connect at the heart, and we need to connect as a as a planetary basis. We all have to create this balance because we have to live in harmony together, you know. And I feel that there's a massive disconnect between the population around the world on this outer level as well. And as we always say, we have to get that inner union before we can get outer union.
Well, what is within is without.
Yeah. So you are doing this amazing work now. You've gone away on a beautiful retreat to learn even more about activating that life energy and healing yourself. Tell me a little bit more about, before we dive into what it is, what was this experience for you? Because obviously it came back and your energy has shifted
Yeah.
again. What did this experience give for you?
So, I guess to start off with, I'm like you. There is nothing that I use in my practice that I haven't been through or experimented with myself. So I have experienced aura healing and life activation and Sophic Reiki and crystal healing myself, which are some of the modalities that I use. So going into this particular learning experience, I had been told that I should expect to feel um, that I might be feeling ill, that I might throw up, that I might have tummy upsets, that it was going to be a really intense experience. So I was expecting to have some of that. What I hadn't quite expected is that actually for 2 weeks before I went away, my body was all over the place. I felt as though I was having an outer body experience. I felt as though my body was over here and the rest of me was over here. I felt really disconnected almost. I felt this incredible push and energy from behind telling me to get things done. So my house has never been so tidy. My admin has never been so up to date. I mean, it was this relentless push from behind saying, you've got to go faster. You've got to get things done. Go, go, go. It was unbelievable. So that's what I've experienced before I went away. And then when I was on the program, which was 5 intense days, I didn't experience some of what I'd been told to experience. So I didn't throw up, I didn't have any of that. But what I did have was my body just ached. From day 3 to the end of day 4, my body felt like I'd been a punch bag. I was really, really sore. And I think that was from all of the energy work that we were working with, because some of the other people who were on the course with me were feeling the same thing. And then at the end of the course, you have an initiation, which was so powerful and was incredibly emotional and really overwhelming, if I'm honest. And then for about 3 days afterwards, I had an intense headache as I was absorbing the energy and absorbing the light and assimilating it into my system and into my body. I had just the worst headache for 3 days.
And that is the way you ache is because you're actually changing. Your DNA is changing at a really deep cellular level. Like, so the energy work that I now do, I've launched a Swedish massage Reiki business in North Devon where I give Reiki through Swedish massage and I do meditations. And when we heal, we ache. And so what you've experienced on your retreat through all of these amazing modalities is that you are feeling the sensation of your body changing. Because when we know when we change, you feel things and it aches. So that's what I think's been happening. And your headache is often it's your third eye expanding. It's your expansion of all your gifts that are just constantly continuing to activate as you do this work, I believe.
Well, I think part of it was also because it was a very hands-on learning experience. So whereas you would normally experience one of these modalities and then that would be it, of course, we
Mm.
were just constantly working on each other. So not only were you learning to give, but you were receiving a lot. So of
Yeah.
course, your body has to assimilate that and your body has to receive that. So it was a very, very special experience,
Mm.
very intense.
Yeah, I mean, this year in 2024, I told you I had an awakening this year, and I was catapulted into Dark Night of the Soul multiple times. And I had numerous times where out of nowhere, I would be at the weekend, I'd be doing my thing, and all of a sudden I would have this horrendous headache. And I would literally have to stop my plans. And thankfully it was a Saturday. And I never do this ever. I went to bed and then I woke up Sunday and it was gone and my energy was shifted. And it
Mm.
was almost like something was happening to me in my own home. And this is
Yeah.
the thing, I really believe that when you are activated into being awake and aware of the fact that we are multidimensional, whether it happens, whether you go on a retreat and you are in that space of healing and activating and receiving energy, or whether it comes to you. For me, it came to me from nowhere. Like I wasn't on a retreat and I was having these headaches and I had to seek out a person, a coach on YouTube. I started YouTubing. I was like, what is happening to me? And this is why I know some of these symptoms because it happened to me in my home when I was alone in my rental. And it didn't happen, it happened multiple times as I was evolving and changing. And it was funny, I went on a retreat in September after having this time of deep activation. And thankfully I found someone that worked with awakenings and told me what was happening to me, happening to my body. And this is the first time I've really talked about this, and it's going to be on the show. So quite a vulnerable expose here. And she's told me the things that you've said, what was happening to me, and it helped me so much to understand. And then when I went on the retreat in September to Lisbon, which was called an Awakened Woman retreat in just outside of Lisbon, all the symptoms that we were told to experience that you've said I didn't experience because I'd had this like really fast
Yeah.
activation. And I believe that 2024 has been en masse around the world. A lot of people waking up, whether they've gone intuitively gone to spaces to hold that space, whether they've worked with somebody in activation, or whether it's just come in and divine has said, it's time for you to wake up. It's going to be painful. But once you go through it, it's like the big red button when I don't know, someone said, go and rewatch the Matrix films, right? Where Neo takes the red pill and then he's awake, right? You cannot ever go back to sleep. And you realize and you see the world from a complete and utter different perspective. And that's when I feel the real magic happens. It's almost like the healing has to start because we're never done healing, right? The healing has to start through your activation, and then you step into your powers of the divine feminine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So you did this deep healing work, and you came back and you said you are now a certified life activation practitioner, an aura healer. I mean, you already have. So one of the things you and I talked about when we last met up in London was my to do with my date of birth and astrology
Yeah. Your human
timestamp.
design and your birth chart. Yeah.
Yeah, that blew my mind. Because what you said about me in that time, I went away and I still think about it today. It resonated at such a deep level of who I am with my strange one-sided chart that didn't really have. a life partner are. And it made so much sense because everything that keeps coming up, whether it's through the gene keys, whether it's through human design and what you said, is that I'm a wild free spirit and I can't be in something that's going to control me. And this year for me has been like about stepping into
Yeah.
a different space of life. And it was something that I was started before I did any of these modalities. I intuitively started doing it in 2023 without even knowing. And then it's like confirmation that when I spoke to you, it's like sometimes it's like getting that confirmation to start trusting yourself because we're
Absolutely.
all different. When
Absolutely.
you did this, because obviously you said you did this for yourself to become a life practitioner, what came up for you? What came up for you even stronger?
So, so maybe if I talk a little bit about what a life activation is,
Yeah.
and I can talk a little bit about my experiences and why I really wanted to be certified to be able to help others. So I came to life activation because I had this push, if you like, to wanting to go deeper and to wanting to know myself more and at a deeper level. And a life activation, so life activation is over 3,000 years old. It's a really, really old modality, and it's taught in Hermetic mystery traditions. So it's kept very pure. It's been handed down through the mystery schools. And to get and receive a life activation, but also to give a life activation, you have to be trained in the modality the way it was taught 3,000 years ago. So the lineage is kept very, very clean and pure. And what it effectively does is, you mentioned it during this at the start of our conversation, we've all been born with a blueprint. We've all been born with a purpose and with a mission.
Yeah.
But of course, as we grow up, society, the reality of living the modern life, all of that, we start to forget and we start to move away from that blueprint and we start to forget what that blueprint is. And we actually have 22 strands of DNA. So we have physical, but we also have non-physical DNA. And so what life activation does is it plugs you back into the 22 strands of your DNA. And it reawakens your divine blueprint. And so it brings you back to that connection with your higher self. It helps bring clarity around what am I meant to do? What is my purpose? What should I be doing next? And how should I be doing it? So it's a really, really powerful modality. It's very gentle to receive because you're either sitting or standing. So it's not like, someone is going to do anything to you where you feel as though you're uncomfortable in any way. But it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. And it works with light, and it works with light energy and light healing. And that's why practitioners have to receive the light so they can in turn give the light to you. Now, some people, when they have a life activation, they have an immediate reaction. They have an immediate aha moment. They immediately go, that's it, I've got complete clarity. That's not how it was for me. I had it, I walked away from it, and I thought that was really really interesting. I felt calm. I had a headache, but I didn't necessarily feel a huge shift. But over the next few weeks after I'd had it, that's where I started to sense the shift. And it was very gentle. It was things like being more discerning around how I made decisions, having more clarity around what the right decision was to make, being more purposeful about the decisions I was making and where I was spending my time. So there were small little changes. But what happened as a result of that is you start to get clarity about what you're meant to do next. And what am I meant to do next? And what am I meant to do next? So normally you would only need to have a life activation once. You can, of course, have it more than once. I've had it multiple times. But it's so powerful that even just having one and never doing it again, you will see a shift and you will feel a shift. It brings clarity, it clears energy blockages, and it really helps you come back to that place of alignment and strength.
So your purpose is to activate people into their true soul blueprint.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, as part of the protocol, you also get a codon reading. So it starts to read effectively some of the things that either but you've forgotten, or some things that might be messages for the future. So you start to get these really powerful messages when you start to clear up your energy structure and you really tap into that blueprint.
I believe the universe is so cheeky and so amazing in the way that it mirrors things, right? Because you've worked you've known me and been seeing me for some time and I believe that we intuitively do our blueprint, like I said, unconsciously, because my whole strand of my business is to activate people at a soul level into their blueprint, right? And I create wealth blueprints and the way that I work. But I've designed it from things that come in, and I've
Mm.
just been building things. And I believe my and this is interesting because I just love the way that energy works. I believe I know the exact date that I was activated because I had an activation when I was told that I needed to wake up to get out there and really start to do my rebirth. So in the gene keys, it says that my purpose is to rebirth. I believe when you activate, you rebirth because your old self has to die. That's why we go through when we've been through an activation, usually everything crumbles in the old world for everything new to be rebuilt with its new foundations.
Well,
And
not necessarily in a life activation. So a life activation it's part of the Hermetic tradition. So it's not necessarily about rebirthing and being a completely different person, but it is about coming back into that alignment and flow.
not
So
about
it's
being a
slightly
different
different.
person, because I'm still the same person, but
Yeah,
all the things that had to go. And
absolutely.
I've activated without going through life activation from
Yeah.
from your channel. It happened to me. I know it
Yeah.
did because it's happened to me through my activation, because all the things
Mm.
that you're saying happened to
Yeah.
me physically. And it's what I do. It's what I do. I take people from activation to blueprint and rebirth in
Yeah.
themselves into a life that they love, into going on and embodying their true soul blueprint, whether that's in life, whether that's in their business, whatever it is. And it's just really incredible to see how exactly it's just like it's exactly a mirror. It's just amazing. And I think this is what the universe is asking for right now. And this is what Mother Earth needs right now. This is what the planet needs right now to resolve all the things that are not in balance, is for people to be activated to go out there and be who they came here to be, and the person that they forgot when they started living life and had all of these things put on them and all of these conditions and all of that.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, life activations are for men and women.
Mm,
So what I've done is I've now incorporated life activation into my coaching and mentoring practice. So to work with
love that.
me, you start off by having a life activation. It's now
Yeah.
been built into that. But I also now, as a standalone, offer life activations to men and women because it's so powerful. In the
Yeah.
same way that I offer the Ensolfic Reiki and the aura healing and the crystal healing, because they are so powerful. They are for everyone. They are not just for women because everybody benefits from them.
Yeah, I work with men and women.
Yeah,
I work with men and women all the time. It's just that we were talking about the divine feminine at the
absolutely. Yeah.
start, because I think that the rise of the divine feminine, I really believe the divine feminine is leading
Mm,
creation and also needs to lead this, because divine masculine also really has to stand in his or her, right? Whether he's born a man and woman, divine masculine has to be his king, like, and he's God, and being his power to be, to be who he came here to be, because we need that balance in all of creation for creation to thrive, right? It's just incredible when you really can start to understand how all of these energies work and how we can, really help people to shift. And I do believe it's so important. And this is why I love the fact that you are a healer, right? being a healer is so important because when you activate someone, it's painful. Wounds are going to come up. Things need to come up to be healed. And one of the things that is really challenging when people are activated onto their journey, their true soul's journey, is then they don't know, they don't get the support to heal. Especially like me, I was activated in my bedroom or something, and I was like in pain and I didn't know who to turn to, and I had to Google it, but I intuitively started receiving Reiki. I found someone. I was already receiving Reiki because intuitively my soul knew how to take care of me. I was already doing certain things like light therapy and things like that to heal myself, not really knowing why. So the fact that you are then able to also support people on their healing journey as well is really profound. How does
Yeah,
that,
and
how
that's
does
why
that work?
I when I coach or mentor someone, the starting point is you do a life activation first.
Yeah,
Because if you've come to see me because you want to be a better leader, you want to step into your power, all of the things that we've talked about, it starts with knowing yourself.
yeah,
And that clarity comes through alignment with your divine blueprint.
yeah.
Then, of course, anything that comes up, we can work through in
Mm.
the next few months. So,
Yeah, because
again, I
that's when
pivoted
the
quite a
journey
way well.
starts, right? That's when it
Yeah.
all starts and rolls and ravels out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then to touch on the aura healing, because that was the other modality, when we think of aura, of course, a lot of people will say, well, what on earth is an aura? I can't see it. Is it even there? But of course it is. If you think about if you're in a crowded space and someone stands too close to you and feel uncomfortable, that's because they're in your aura and you're sort of feeling uncomfortable. And our aura can get holes in it
Mm,
through pollution, through what we eat,
yeah.
through stress, through the energy we're exposed to. And of course, the minute you have holes in your aura, if you're around negative energy, it will affect your mood and how you feel and your well-being. And it's such a simple procedure, but actually it's so powerful to again just plug up the holes, make you feel whole again. Again, just come back into that protective zone where you're good to go and you're ready to face the world again.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we do so much for other people, and people can take energetically and make attachments. And whenever I do work with my energy healer, and she's done Reiki on me, she sews me up and does things and
Mm.
cuts cords, and I leave the room just like floating on a cloud. And until you experience some of this, it feels, I remember, it feels like far-fetched and it feels like it's not real. And I did some Reiki recently because I'm a Reiki practitioner now as well within my own business. I did some Reiki on someone that was really, really not believing, but they were
Mm.
curious and they were skeptical, and I was getting my certification, so I said, well, I'll do it for free because I'd really appreciate actually seeing if it works for you. And she came to me, and afterwards she was messaging me going, my goodness, I'm on cloud nine. I don't know, this has been carrying on, this has been a week, it hasn't just gone. And she couldn't believe it. And she was then telling all of these people that they needed to have Reiki, including some of the guys in her life. And then they started asking me, well, what's this Reiki? And I do believe the more people, they come to you for one thing, but then you give them then what they need to experience that, which is really amazing because then that ripples out. People
Mm.
see the shift somewhere else. They talk about it. And I do believe then, word of mouth and just seeing other people's
Mm.
experiences of energy healing is really powerful.
Yeah, and just the story that you were sharing there really resonated. I have a very, very close, dear friend of mine, and we've been friends for many, many, many years. And she lives quite far away from me, but I've shared with her this journey that I've been on over the last few years. And once I had been trained in crystal healing and in Sophic Reiki, so before I'd become certified in aura healing and life activation, I said to her, I would really love to do some crystal healing and Sophic Reiki with you. So Sophic Reiki is slightly different from other Reiki. You actually do lay your hands on the individual because, again, you're bringing in light and healing to their body.
Mm.
Anyway, we had the opportunity a couple of months ago. I happened to be staying in a hotel close to where she was for one of my board positions, and we arranged to meet up. And I spent some time doing some crystal healing on her, and then did some Sophic Reiki. And she's a bit like the person you mentioned, a bit skeptical, open-minded, totally open-minded, but had never
Yeah.
experienced anything like this before. And at the end of the session, she said, "Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm floating on cloud nine," which of course you would do. It's a relaxing experience, you would feel amazing. But what was really powerful for me was she had a really stressful week at work coming up. And I checked in with her the day after and said, how are things at work? And she said, "I've been able to float through it stress-free. It's been absolutely fine." And then I saw her a few weeks ago and I said, "How long did the effect last for?" And she said, "Look, it lasted a good few weeks where I just felt calmer. I felt more in control. Things weren't getting to me. I just felt better."
And that's really interesting because I interviewed someone for my podcast this morning, a friend of mine that works in trauma, because
Mm.
I like people to understand what trauma is. And often when we're healing, we're releasing, the body takes score of trauma in the body. And often when we're doing this, we're releasing trauma. And then when we go through life and we face something that would normally stress us out, because we've released trauma or we've calmed our nervous system or we've healed our bodies, the trauma or the events don't affect us in the same way because we can use the right parts of our mind to think and we flow. And it's like, oh, okay, so this is the real physical impacts of the healing, and we can see that. Then the mind starts to trust that this is real because the mind will tell you the mind is the part of us that doesn't believe
Yeah,
in the bigger picture because we're so conditioned to lead by the mind, by the fear-based systems, by that
absolutely.
part of us.
And I think you've made a really important point there. That fear and that belief, or not even belief, but realization that we're living from a place of fear, what it does is it just pulls us down into the negative energy. And getting out of that, of course, takes work, but really importantly, it also takes commitment. It takes commitment to say, actually, I'm not going to come at things from a place of fear. I'm going to come at things from a place of joy. I'm going to come at things from a place of gratitude. I mean, oh my goodness, how powerful is a gratitude practice? Just,
Yeah.
I'm going to come at things from a place of gratitude, and I'm going to come at it from the perspective of what is the gift?
What is the gift? The gift that keeps giving, isn't it? What is the gift here? I 100% agree with you. I started really exploring the power of the gift with the gene keys. And I mean, it comes back to DNA and all of these things.
Yeah, yeah,
Richard Rudd he channeled the gene keys. He did start with human design, and then he went deeper into it from what he was seeing was his truth. And with every the 64 gene keys, with
yeah.
every gene key, there is a shadow, a gift, and a siddhi.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's really hard to look at the shadow aspects of ourselves because
Oh,
it's knowing yourself, it's looking at yourself, and we just want to go
100%.
straight for the enlightenment, right? We want to be in that siddhi, we want to be in freedom, we want to be in rebirth, we want to be already there. But and this is what Richard talked massively about. And you've just really resonated with me because I need to go back to my gene keys again because you can never go back to this stuff more times than you can always go back to it. Is that I looked at the shadows and it was uncomfortable to look at the parts of me that were stopping me from living in that higher state of consciousness. And he said, when you look at that and then you contemplate the gift, that's where the magic happens. Being in the gift. One of the things that was in my gene keys, and I just love going to talk about this, was the transformation from It was a part to do with my love activation. I can't remember the key now because it's been about 6 months and I've been through an awakening, and this is
Mm.
why I want to revisit it. But it was all about that's it. It was all about distractions. One of my big shadows is distraction, and in order to be in enlightenment, like so, it was distraction was stopping me from being enlightened or being really powerful in myself in love. It was looking at those distractions as if those extractions like enhance my life or being mindful, that is the gift. And it's then looking at all the things that I was doing and going, is this going to add to my life? And it was like noticing, okay, I get distracted. That's fine. And I know how I distract myself. So I distract myself by if I can't sit in uncomfortable silences, I put the radio on. I now sit in uncomfortable silences. And then when I choose to play music, it lights me up because I've chosen that thing that maybe I was a little bit addicted to stop myself from being in the discomfort of whatever it was that I wasn't facing. And
Yeah,
it's
you make such
so
an important
powerful.
point. And the other thing that comes to mind as you were speaking, is just going back to the point you made at the start of our conversation today about people saying, "Oh, this is very hippie," and
Mm,
it's all very alternative. And I wanted to draw out a very real analogy for you, which hopefully will help anyone who might be listening to this and still be
yeah.
skeptical. So I use human design more than I use gene keys.
Mm,
In my human design, I am a manifester. What does that mean? That means I manifest things. I'm a creator. And human design is based on your DNA. So it's based on your date of birth and where you were born and your time of
yeah.
birth, for those of you who aren't familiar with human design. I also use something called strengths in my coaching practice. So strengths is something that many, many people will have come across in their corporate life. It's used by many, many organizations. You would typically use either Gallup or StrengthScope. I'm StrengthScope is credited because I like their modality and I like how they work. Strengths is all about recognizing the things that you are good at or have the potential to be good at. So for me, I always say strengths give you the what and the how. What do I like doing? How do I like doing it? Human design is why. Why do I like doing it?
Yeah.
So in my human design, I'm a manifester. In my strengths, I'm an achiever. If those two aren't a marriage made in heaven, then I don't know what is. So your traditional modalities that are very recognized and not considered alternative at all absolutely align with some of what we're talking about today. The two absolutely come together. But for me, like I said, it's about aligning the what, the how, and the why.
Oh, 100%. I'm a 2-4 sacral generator. And that means, and because I had my human design reading, that means that I literally make decisions from my gut.
Me too.
I go and generate it and bring it into real creation. And like when I sat down with that, it just gave me confirmation of why I do things. And the James who did it with me, he said, if you just notice how you answer things. If you don't go yes, that's not your sacral part.
Then it's not a yes, it's a no.
If you go, okay, it's a no. And I really noticed
Absolutely.
that because then I go, even if I say yes to something, I go, how did I say yes to it now? I have awareness. I need to go and change that because it's not my energy is going to be bad. I'm going to ruin it. It's not what I'm meant to be doing.
But
I
also
don't
the
want to
other thing
be
about
there
making
or
decisions from your sacral is you should never make them straight away. Unless it's a yes, an emphatic yes, you should never make them straight away. You should sit with it. Because if you try
my
to make a decision from here, it's usually the wrong decision.
yeah, so my sacral generator means that I make decisions instantly.
Yeah.
I just know straight away. And I find it really, I talked about this recently on a different podcast conversation around Carl Jungian's quadrants. And one of the things that I really connected was with the fiery aspect. So I'm definitely a sunshine energy. Just like I bound around, I see the
Yeah.
light in everything. But I'm also, once I've made a decision, because of my sacral generator, I have to make decisions and I can't cope with the small print sometimes because the detail for me it's just, well, it's obvious. We don't need to go and analyze the spreadsheet. Okay, there was not a slip up there. The spreadsheets, because I just know.
Yeah.
Because A, I also know that I have intuition and foresight. I know things. My sacral generator's decided that it's happening, and then I've made that decision and I don't need the detail. So one of the things that I'm learning to bring into my world are the people that like the detail that can
Mm.
balance out my energy of eternal optimism and that quick decision
Yeah.
and that fire within me. But it's so beautiful. Everything that you've said today it's all about knowing yourself. And
Yeah.
yourself, the SELF, self, is your soul. It's that part of you that is busting to be activated and to come out and have that activation and then to really start living that life in alignment with your blueprint, which is hard. It takes
Oh, look, this journey is not for the faint-hearted.
no.
It would be much, much easier to not go down this path. But if
Mm.
you want to come to a place of joy, true joy, not happiness, those are different things. If you want to come to a place of joy, if you want to come to a place of flow and alignment and ease, you have to take this path.
You have to take this path. I'm curious, before we leave, I thought that was going to be a really great place to end, but you've left me with curiosity. And one of my words is that I am curious. I get really excited by curiosity. What is the difference then between happiness and joy?
So happiness is up and down. I have a lovely meal, I'm happy. My partner gives me a cuddle, I'm happy. Actually, my car's been broken into, I'm really unhappy. My boss told me off today, I'm really unhappy. So happiness is like this. Joy is constant. So even when you go through the darkest, darkest, darkest things in your life, joy is innate, and you can only really come to joy through tough things and tough experiences that you've been through.
Oh, I
That's how
love
you come to joy. Joy comes from knowing yourself and knowing who I am, knowing what I'm here for. It's constant.
Oh, you know how I'm connecting to this? I see this as your frequency is your constant, right? When you energetically upgrade, your
Yeah.
frequency goes up. That's your joy. And then you vibrate around it. That's your happiness. So the more you go up, go up, go up,
Yeah.
raise that joy, which is Ikigai. Ikigai's
Yeah.
concept is to live a life of joy and purpose. Your
Yeah.
frequency goes up. Okay, now you're connecting even more dots for me in some of the work that I do, in that understanding of what it's all about. You'll then vibrate around at a much higher level. So when the things that are bad happen, you will be
Absolutely.
way better equipped to dealing with it.
Absolutely, because you're coming from a place of joy,
Yes.
and not a fleeting place of, I need this to feel happy. This must happen for me to feel happy.
Yeah.
Joy is a constant state.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sprinkling that even higher degree of knowledge because I don't believe we ever stop learning. It's just profound the amazing gift you gave me today of sharing that. And I cannot wait to share this with, with the wealth rebels en masse as they, as they listen to this show. I'm sure it's going to literally change someone's life. So how do people find you? What is the best way for us to reach out to you if we want to, work with you at that level to find that activation?
So you can find me on my website, which is she-capital.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, as either she-capital or Celia Pronto. Either of those will do.
Amazing. All the links will be in the show notes. Thank you so much, my love, for coming on the show. As always, it's just been so wonderful to catch up with you today.
Thank you so much for having me.